Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am the Sovereign, and this is my court. If this is your first time in attendance, hello. Please consider hitting the subscribe button before you leave our kingdom. This conversation is overdue, but that does not mean that we're not going to discuss it. I was sick, and still, we're not going to get out of this conversation. I want to discuss the controversy surrounding South Africa's participation in Miss Universe, being that Miss Universe is being held in Israel. There are some political issues with Miss Universe organization's decision to hold the competition in Israel. First and foremost being that certain countries do not even allow their citizens to step foot on Israeli soil. They do not have a friendly relation with the country because Israel and Palestine, or because Palestine is not recognized as a nation, it doesn't really have a seat at the table that other nations do. Israel has a significant amount of control over the neighboring population that are the Palestinians. And Israel factually doesn't really treat the Palestinians with the same rights that they treat their own citizens or citizens of any other nation that they have contact with. Palestinians are not really allowed to enter into Israel. Palestinians have largely been driven out of the lands that are now occupied by Israel. And these two opposing groups have not really found a way to coexist peacefully. And I'm trying to state this in a very non-political way because I know that there's going to be people in the comment section who are very inflamed and impassioned about the subject, which you should be. Now, know that this subject has nothing to do with individuals themselves, whether it be the Israeli population and people or the Palestinian population and people. It really has nothing to do with the people themselves or even the opposing religions. It really has to do with the governments and the way that this is being governed. Now, Palestine has not been allowed to have its own state and its own government. It really does not have the same self-regulatory abilities that Israel has, on top of the fact that Israel, being recognized as a major nation, has the backing and support of other major nations such as the United States. So this is a very hot topic, political issue, and it does fall along religious lines, being that the nation of Israel and that population is mostly and largely Jewish. Israel was established to be a home for the Jewish population, especially after World War II and everything that happened there. Meanwhile, the Palestinians are majority Muslim, and this area where Israel is a majority Muslim area of the globe. And a lot of countries have taken issue with Israel's treatment of the Palestinian Muslim population. And once again, before people get down in the comments section, getting all in their feelings about this, let us remind ourselves that I am a political science major, specifically focusing in international relations. And I have literally talked about this issue with you guys because this is part of my homework assignments, which I got an A on, by the way. I showed you guys the paperwork and everything. It was great. So before you come after me, I'm trying to be as factual as possible, but at the same time, I do let my feelings be known that I do believe this population is being treated unfairly, and that's not to say that I think Israel should be wiped off the face of the map, okay? Let's not go there. Now, let's get back to the South Africa situation, because people are going to be like, okay, well, where does South Africa get into this? South Africa went through a long period of time known as apartheid, where Black South Africans and white South Africans were legally separated. It's kind of like how we had it in the United States during segregation. Legally, white people and Black people couldn't go to school together. They couldn't get married, couldn't have relations. Their societies were legally and bindingly separated. And this resulted in white South Africans having a better quality of life than Black South Africans. And the Black South Africans were really treated poorly and unfairly and harshly, and they protested and they fought against it. The rest of the world saw what was going on in South Africa and said, no, this is not okay. Apartheid is not okay. We need you to treat your citizens as equal. And until you do so, some people don't know this, South Africa was banned and or boycotted from most international sporting events due to the implementation of the apartheid laws and regulations, meaning South Africa was not allowed to participate in things like the Olympics. For the longest time, I know cricket's really big in certain countries like India and South Africa. They were not allowed to have an international team. The international community would not allow or welcome South Africa because of the unfair treatment that they were showing Black South Africans. And it wasn't until apartheid was abolished that they allowed South Africa to then re-enter the sporting arena and play with everyone else. Because it's kind of like, you need to fix your house and learn how to play with your people before you come play with us, which is justified. And I think that's a great thing. Now, Miss South Africa is a Black South African who is very well knowledgeable of apartheid, which wasn't abolished. Like, it's not like it's been 100 years. Apartheid was abolished, in the 80s? I'll throw it up on the screen so we have an exact date for those of you who are using this for your homework assignment. Apartheid didn't happen very long ago, and the people that went through that are still living. So Miss South Africa is well aware of how that feels and the effects and ramifications of that type of treatment on a country and a people. The situation of apartheid in South Africa is very similar to the situation between the Palestinians and the Israeli citizens, meaning the Israeli citizens are treated much better and are much more protected than the Palestinian citizens or even Muslim residents of Israel. They are not nearly as protected and respected as their Jewish counterparts.
In 2021, Human Rights Watch accused Israel of carrying out apartheid. It based this accusation on the 1973 Apartheid Convention and the 1998 Rome Statute, which say that 3 elements have to occur for the crime of apartheid to apply. They are an intent by one group to dominate the other, systematic oppression by one racial group over another, and one or more inhumane acts, like denying people the right to leave and to return to their country, expropriation of landed property, and the creation of separate reserves and ghettos.
So in the beginning, some people truly did not want South Africa to be involved in the competition. But South Africa doesn't have any political, as far as I know, South Africa doesn't have any political breakdowns or relationships with Israel. So I didn't see it as an issue. So when they're going through the process of choosing a competitor, I'm not thinking much of it. However, it became an issue after Miss South Africa had already been chosen. The government of South Africa said that they would not be supporting the Miss South Africa organization in competing in Israel because of the issues that are happening there politically. Now, to me, that's very understandable, especially with South Africa's history of apartheid. I understand how that could pull at their heartstrings, and that would really be an issue with them, seeing something happen that they know full well has very hurtful effects for the other population. It really is unfair. And I totally agree. The treatment of the Palestinians has been totally out of line and completely unfair, and there does need to be intervention. And I can at least applaud the South African government for standing up against that. This is where the problem for me lies. If the South African government didn't want any sort of participation in the Israeli competition or the Miss Universe competition being held in Israel, the competition in the beginning never should have been allowed to move forward. A competitor should never have been chosen. If they were going to say, we can't support this, you do it from the get-go. You do it from the moment you find out that the competition is being held in Israel, which they didn't do. They waited until after a competitor had been chosen to be like, oh, we can't support this. And it's just like, no, 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 no. There's no reason for you to have put it off as much as you could have. If you really were against this, you should have spoke up from the beginning. Which politically, like if I put myself in the position of like, I don't know, if the president of South Africa, I would have spoke up from the beginning the moment I found out that this is being held in Israel. And I would have said, no, this is a bad look for my country, a country that's been through this before, and I'm not going to allow it to be seen as if we support that. You do that from the get-go. But after a competitor has been chosen to then go on this spiel and be like, oh, well, we can't support this, you're robbing this woman of an opportunity. Now, of course, she should be putting her country first. It's Miss South Africa. But the other flip side of this is that a lot of people use the argument that, well, pageant queens love to be apolitical. They're not supposed to be political figures. They're not supposed to be blah, 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 politics, politics, politics. Pageant queens are icons. They are leaders. They are charged with using their power and their voice for good. We have seen many times where pageant queens will engage in political scuffles and give their ideas, and largely the final Q&A questions for any major international pageant has either direct political implications or political undertones that ask very serious ideological and ethical questions. We see every year pageant queens be encouraged by their organizations to engage in politics. So no one can say, oh, she shouldn't be involved in politics. That's kind of her job. As a Miss Anything, Miss USA, Miss South Africa, Miss Brazil, it is your job to speak and represent your people. And I understand the difficult position that Leilila was put in when all of this happened, because it's Miss Universe. She worked for this. She dreamt of this. And I mean, I get it. I truly get it. In her position, I probably would have asked my organization, like, can we do this next year? Can I go through with this next year? The way like France has done things. France always elects their queen like a year ahead of time, and she waits super long, which is fine. I probably would have asked my organization just because I think it's best to represent my people this way. But obviously we know this is not what happened, and Miss South Africa currently is in Israel. This has been brought back into the pageant sphere once again when pictures emerged of Miss South Africa taking photos with prominent political figures within Israel. And once again, before everybody gets into, I'm sure there's arguments in the comment section below already. I'm sure there is, and I'm trying, but I know that they're down there fighting. The girls are fighting. Look, once again, as much as we love the queens as competitors, they are icons with power. And when you put on a crown, you are no longer just yourself. You are a symbol. And the same way that the pageant queens are symbols, political figures and predominant leaders are not just themselves. They are symbols of authority and symbols of their country. And that's how we see them as outsiders. When we see a president, we don't, say that president's name. We say he's the president of Bolivia. He's the president of the United States. He's the prime minister of Canada. We don't see them as themselves. We see them as a symbol. So when people are seeing Miss South Africa, who we call Miss South Africa, we hardly call her by her name because she's a symbol of South Africa. When we see the symbol of South Africa next to a political symbol of Israel, it creates a lot of feelings because this is a symbolic photo of togetherness. You see what I'm saying? It's two symbols being put together. It's not just Leilila with, Sarah or Mary or Nancy. It's South Africa with Israel coming together, knowing that there's a political issue happening here. And this is why it's really important, honestly, for pageant queens to know how to navigate political situations. I know a lot of them don't necessarily think about it, but it is very likely that you one day will be put into a situation where you have to consider the political implications of what you are doing. If I were to suddenly show up in North Korea, playing ping pong with Kim Jong-un, a lot of people would see that as, okay, the sovereign clearly supports the North Korean regime. It's not going to be seen as Devana playing ping pong with Kim. It's going to be seen as the sovereign supporting a dictatorship. That is symbolically, that has significance. And pageant queens have to understand that. That's part of the weight that comes with wearing a crown. When you put on that crown, you put on a symbol, and you yourself become a symbol. You yourself become an icon, and you have to be careful on the positions in which you place yourself. It's kind of like a chess game. And in the game of chess, you protect your queen at all costs. So I'm sure Leilila, the woman herself, is probably doing her best to just enjoy an experience and have fun. But a lot of the queens sometimes let it slip through their mind that they are a symbol and that every action that they do, every picture that they take has an implication for the country they are currently representing. As a competitor, if you are ever put into a political situation that you don't want to be in, and you're remembering like, oh my God, I'm a symbol and I can't be seen doing this, or I can't be seen with this particular person because this particular person goes against my country's beliefs, this particular person is not friendly with my country, it is not a problem for you as a queen to look that person in the face and be like, I greatly appreciate your happiness and support of me, but I do not want to currently engage in this activity because I know that my country and my people could potentially be hurt by this, or I know that this could potentially create a problem, and I don't want to create a problem for you or I in this situation. Even if it's a simple photo, it is okay to walk away. Truly it is. There are certain famous people that I do not support. And if they came up to me, even if they were super nice and like if they were just like the biggest, pageant fans, or they're like, oh my God, I love your channel so much, I would genuinely say thank you. Like, thank you so much. And if they were like, oh my God, can we please take a picture? Like, this would be great. I would respectfully be like, I respectfully have to decline because I know that this could create a problem for you and me. And I do not want the rest of the court to take it the wrong way, or for anyone to have hurt feelings about this. This is nothing maybe against you as a person. Maybe I like you as a person, but the things that you stand for is not something that I can be seen to support. And I would easily, if they asked why, I would easily, explain why. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to bash them or embarrass them. I wouldn't say stuff like that, like publicly on a stage or something, but I would let them know I have a responsibility and a duty to these people. And if someone who had bashed Miss Universe or the pageant community in general asked to take a photo with me, I would have to politely decline. Yes, thank you for your support of me. I'm so happy that you're a fan, but you have to understand that also I am a representative of the pageant community and my court, and I believe that my people would take issue with my presence publicly in the vicinity of yourself. Though you've been really, really kind to me, I just can't take this photo right now, or I can't do this right now. I'm a symbol, and I have to respect the people that are around me. And yeah, some people may, be taken aback at this, but most of the time they're not going to be upset. Most of the time they'll respectfully understand. You just have to find a way to state these things eloquently. It doesn't mean you have to hurt someone's feelings. You have to tell them the honest truth and just respectfully decline and walk away. I'm just trying to give the queens ideas because eventually you will be caught in some sort of awkward situation where you don't want to be seen or take this photo or appear somewhere, and you have to let them know respectfully why. You as a person are great. Like, we have a ton of fun together. I would say this to, like, I don't know, maybe Chris Brown or something. Be like, Chris, you're a great person. We've had a ton of fun together. Like, I enjoy our time and everything, but I would prefer not to take a photo right now. And be like, oh, but it's cool. It'll be great. And I really want a photo with you. I'm like, honestly, Chris, I think my audience would take issue with the fact that I'm a women's empowerment person and I preach women's empowerment, and you really haven't done the best you can to also be a women's empowerment advocate. And being that you're not an advocate, I just don't think it's conducive to either one of our careers that we be just taking photos together like we are the best of friends. And it really doesn't look good on me as a woman to even be seen in the vicinity because, Chris's reputation with women is just like every woman he's seen with is women that people just assume he slept with, right? And I'm like, I'm not trying to be part of your harem, Chris, okay? We're great friends, but I'm good. He's like, oh, you're being so uptight. I'm saying, well, I like my career, don't you? I'm not going to sit here and let anybody put my platform or myself in danger. So back to South Africa, I understand how this could have been a very difficult conversation and situation for all parties involved. And I'm sure, once again, the girls are fighting in the comments section. But just for future reference and future note, if you see political crossroads coming for you as a competitor, as a person, whatever position you're in, find a way to either navigate around it, or if you are forced to make a choice, your duty is to your people, whomever you represent, and be prepared to be put in a position where you have to respectfully take a stand and say, I can't participate in this action right now. Though I do like you, I can't be doing this, and I'm going to have to either excuse myself or depart or just say no thank you. Either way, this is a good learning lesson for future reference for women that will have to navigate these types of waters.
When you saw that statement that the government is not going to support you?
I was in despair. I was thoroughly disappointed. I felt abandoned. Yeah, I think those three would be an accurate description of how I felt. I also felt a bit of anger because I don't know what I had done so wrong. I still I don't understand. I'll never comprehend what I did to make people feel justified in their actions. You don't have to be for me, but you don't have to be against me. You don't have to certainly wish death upon me because I made a choice. I never initiated any war. This is way bigger than me, you know? All I did was just pursue a dream of mine.
So I just received a message from one of my Viscounts, and I wanted to interject before I uploaded this video. It seems like Miss Universe South Africa truly is just really not understanding where people are getting upset. Like, she really is not making the connection of what she could have done that would trigger the amount of outrage that she is seeing. And I have to explain this. I have no personal feelings against Miss Universe South Africa. Leila, girl, nothing against you. But even I don't have your back in this. I get where you're coming from. I truly do. Leila is seeing this as a personal opportunity, as a dream that she has had. But in this video that I've just shown you, even she admits that this is something that is bigger than herself. Even she admits that this has a worldwide impact. But the thing is, you're almost making it seem like it's a them problem and not a you problem. You chose to put your own personal ambitions above the welfare of Palestinians and your country. You were aware of the negative feelings that your country possessed towards the competition and towards Israel's actions, and you were aware of your government's wishes. But because you saw this as an opportunity, and because this was your dream, even though you know this is something bigger than you, you chose to make it only about you and proceed with what you wanted, regardless of what the people you represent requested of you. And I know that that is very tough to listen to. I know that it's very tough to hear, especially in the context of like a Miss Universe competition that is your dream. But sometimes being a leader means being presented with the toughest decisions, with the hardest things to do. But you are a representative. And it was never about you.
What is happening in Palestine is apartheid, not compared to South Africa in terms of international law.
We stand with your resistance, as in South Africa, the people's resistance supported by international solidarity in your just cause will see you win your freedom.
And as a pageant fan that has kind of a platform within the community, I feel like it is kind of my job to discuss these implications, because when it comes to hosting Miss Universe in Israel, there are certain pageant fans that are not allowed to even go due to the fact that that's where the competition is being held. There are certain pageant fans that will not be admitted to Israel because of where they live and who they are and where they come from. And I feel like if you are going to host an international competition meant to bring people, competitors, fans together, you cannot place that competition in a country, in a place that is not welcoming to all. You are automatically isolating and neglecting parts of your fan base and parts of my fan base that I have to say and stand up for them and say it's not fair. It's not fair that we didn't get Indonesia this year. That's not fair. It's not fair that some pageant fans are allowed to go into Israel and watch the competition, but Palestinian pageant fans wouldn't be allowed to do the same and support their favorite competitor. That's not fair. If there is a country that would ever kick out segments of the pageant fan base, you shouldn't be allowed to host the competition. Miss Universe should never allow any part of their audience to feel neglected, isolated, unfavored. That is not okay. So if Miss Universe was like, we want to hold the competition in Italy, and Italy was like, sure, you can hold the competition in Italy, but the Germans aren't invited, that should be an automatic no. No, not one part of the pageant fan base should be left out due to the bad practices of the host nation. That nation should not be allowed to host. If you can't welcome the entire fan base, we don't want you to host. That should have been the stand that the Miss Universe organization was willing to take. I'm very unhappy that some of the Palestinians who are members of the court feel neglected and left out, because even if they had wanted to attend the Miss Universe competition, they would not have been allowed to. That is not okay. As I said before, this is a very controversial, very complex, very long-winded issue, and I have discussed it in a previous video, which I will link at the end of this video or in the tag above, so you can see kind of what I've said before. But I acknowledge that it's difficult, but I don't really see this as a religious issue per se, or picking on specific populations. I see this as a government issue, meaning the people that run these populations, the people that run these people, the people that run the countries are the ones creating the problems and the ones that needs to fix it. But it's nothing against the Israeli people themselves. You're not the ones causing the issues. I'm pretty sure you guys don't have missiles in your backyard, so it's not on you. It's on the governments. In the comment section below, let me know what you think of this very convoluted, complex issue and Miss Universe's decision to hold the competition in Israel, and South Africa's decision to allow their competitor to go, even though clearly the government was not happy about it. What do you think about the timing of all this? Like, it's just a lot to take in. Is there any other insight that you can give us that maybe I didn't know or didn't have time to state? Because I don't want this video to be 3 hours long. If I were to really dive in to all the complexities of this issue, we would be here for an entire class. It would be a course, y'all. It would be a 3-hour TED talk, okay? And I know you don't want that. So have at it in the comment section below. Try to be nice and understanding to each other and just, listen and learn. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. And if you are not a member of the court, please consider hitting the subscribe button so that I can see your lovely face again. I love you. I'll miss you. And I will be back in a future video. Bye.